Welcome back to another edition of the Educational AD Podcast. We couldn't do these without the incredible support of our sponsors, and we want to start by saying thank you to all of them. First, thanks to our diamond sponsor, Varsity Brands, including BSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones. Varsity Brands, elevating student experiences in sport, spirit, and achievement. We also want to say thank you to our platinum sponsors, including Ephesus Lighting, innovating a brighter future at every level. Gilman Gear, always a step ahead. Camp Mobile, where teams communicate better. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. And Vital Signs, bring student achievements to life. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Anne Julian. Anne is a certified athletic administrator, and she's the athletic director at Holy Cross High School in Covington, Kentucky. Our first Kentucky guest. Anne, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be on.
Well, we've had a good time with these podcasts, and we're excited about hearing how you all do things in your state. Well, Anne, we always like to let our our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school and college, and maybe how your love of sports led to that first job in teaching and coaching.
Okay. Well, I'm a native of Taylor Mill, Kentucky, which is just south of Covington, Kentucky, which I went to school at Holy Cross High School. So I'm back at my alma mater and happy to be here. So I graduated in 1986. Everybody can do the math. And then from there, I headed out to Missouri and played volleyball and basketball at Southwest Baptist University. Okay. I was really determined to be able to play two sports in college. Had some opportunities close to home for one sport. Basketball was probably my main sport. But in high school, I played three sports. Just couldn't get enough of the playing fields, and really just loving my friends. And I just had such wonderful coaches who later became my colleagues, and just was so excited to be a part of any kind of team. Love that team atmosphere and being a part of just doing well. And I just really don't remember the wins and losses, but I do remember I always felt like we were winners. So that must be something. I have three sisters. My dad is a girl dad, if I'll steal that term out from the late Kobe Bryant, who would talk about, dads that have all girls. So there's four of us within 6 years of each other. So, yeah. And what was really interesting about that, my dad was a baseball player, and he coached baseball for a Holy Name men's league. And so us girls, we were the little rug rats that would be running around in that atmosphere, and really learned from those gentlemen how to respect the game, respect their teammates. They were older. They weren't high school players. They were, like in their 23, 24 range. But they always treated us very nicely and played hard. And so that was my first experience really in the team setting. And so, just did that. My dad would take us out in the side yard and just hit balls at us for hours upon hours. And just loved that whole competition. We had a lot of competition.
Well, we talk in our profession so much about the importance of leadership and mentorship, and I'm going to guess your dad is probably one of your big mentors. Who are some of the other people that have had an impact on your career, either coaches that you might have had or people that you've worked with or or worked for? I like to say, whose voice do you still hear in your head when you're talking with your kids or your coaches?
I would say probably John Wysong. He unfortunately, unexpectedly passed away. He was our football coach. He came back to Holy Cross High School and started our football program just 20 years ago. This is my 22nd year at Holy Cross. And so he started the program, but he was my, when I was in 7th, 8th grade, he was my freshman basketball coach. I played up on the freshman level. But he was always the guy that, you know, if you're not having fun, why do it? And just was such a solid man, integrity wise, and taught a lot about the game. What was really striking, he was here my 7th, 8th grade year. And then that was a, you know, private school. We were a private school, obviously, but he was beginning to start his family. So he had to make the hard decision of going to maybe earn some more money. And, you know, we sat down and had a long talk because we were very close. I mean, he was very close to all the players and like a father figure to us. And, you know, everybody's like, you know, please don't leave, please don't leave. But, you know, even at that young age, I understood that. And I had written him a little note in my young handwriting, you know, good luck on making hard decisions. And I put a 4-leaf clover in that letter and signed it, you know, BFF, best friends forever. And, but when he passed away, they found it in his wallet 35 years later that he had, you know, switched over every time he changed his wallet. And that really meant something to me. And I have it framed, you know, just those hard decisions when, you know, there's people's emotions are on the line or those kind of things. So he's one of those guys. Kay Beeger was my first female coach. I'd always had male coaches growing up. So she was, you know, I guess you don't think about how that impacts you as a female, that actually females can coach or they can be in higher levels of athletics. So she really was inspirational in telling us young ladies, you know, we can do whatever we want to do. We work hard and it's out there for the taking. So she was my high school volleyball coach. Still remains a great friend to this day. Someone I can talk to and call at a moment's notice. But my principal, my girls basketball coach, Mr. Bill Goller, he's National Teacher of the Year for Holy Cross. But he, you know, he called us scholars, and that, you know, education is where you need to focus. Athletics is great and it's fun and it can be a means to an end, but you have to focus on that education piece. So he was at one time the winningest coach in the state of Kentucky. And I'm just blessed to still, he comes around, he goes to our games and he comes around, but he was extremely instrumental in where I am today.
It's always nice to hear about the people that have impacted, you know, your lives. You know, you mentioned Southwest Baptist. That's in Bolivar, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah. See, I coached Missouri Valley College for a few years back in the 90s, so I know that area well. Let's go back. You know, you're going to college athlete. Talk about those first jobs after college and maybe how that led to your first AD position.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. I had no intention of going into athletics. Psychology, geriatrics, I really thought I was going to find a cure for Alzheimer's in my youth, and was very passionate about helping others. So again, played both of those sports. You know, the means to the end, you know, I was able to receive a scholarship and not have any financial debt once I left college, which is an absolute blessing, and just really took advantage of those opportunities. So working in a psychiatric hospital, that was my passion with those suffering through dementia in the families. But during that time, we also had an opportunity to work on different units. And so I would work in the teen unit. And inevitably someone would say, can you help me with this math? Can you help me with this English? And it just, there was a passion that was ignited that I think I'm pretty good about learning and, teaching those kids without being judgmental. And then all of a sudden it was like, I want to be a teacher. So I went back. I was able to secure a graduate assistant job at Southwest Baptist University. And they had that dual program where you get your master's and your teaching certificate at the same time. So pursued social studies, which fell in line with psychology, which was my undergraduate. And then the opportunity to become the head coach at Southwest Baptist University in volleyball and fast pitch softball, which was something not in my wheelhouse, but what we do, we align ourselves with people that are in the know. And so that was my first opportunity to work with young people, help them on their journey. And it was so rewarding. And that's where it began.
What got you back to Kentucky?
Well, then Mr. Goller, our principal, my coach, Coach G, called me up and said, hey, we've got an opportunity here. We would love for you to come back to the school and work. I looked at my husband and our daughter was getting ready to be kindergarten age. I said, I think it's time for me to go home. Now he was from Southwest Missouri, from Ozark, Missouri. And, but he was on board. He's like, if that's what you want to do, that's what we'll do. So we loaded up, sold our house, and came back to Kentucky. And I came on as the academic counselor and dean, coached basketball and fast pitch softball. And my Mr. Goller, he's very much a visionary. So he turned the curriculum over to me, and I was able to come up with a pretty unique curriculum with 5 levels or 5 paces of learning for kids so that they could be matched in an Algebra 1 that matched their pace of learning. And so we were able to do that, and I was all into, the curriculum end of it and design. So that's how I came back.
That must have been very cool, being able to pretty much build your own program from the ground up.
It was amazing. And I think about that, and I think about higher education, and, I never wanted a class that had more than 22 kids in it. And I did have a computer program. I did this I had 400, and again, we're a small school. I had 435 students during our largest time, 9 through 12, and was able to do this by hand, match up kids with a particular learning style teacher. And all of our test scores went up. The attendance rate of coming to school was at an all-time high. And it was just amazing to see that was a definite reflection of being in some place that you felt comfortable, you could ask questions, and you were at a pace where, someone wasn't waiting on you, even if it's another student, or that you were uncomfortable asking a question. If you had to ask a question 5 times, if you're in that same pace of learning, you're comfortable to ask that question.
Coming into the school and helping develop that type of program that had such a quick and positive impact on academics, that obviously, or I'm assuming it gave you considerable credibility with, say, the academic world as you made that transition to athletics, correct?
Well, it did. However, that's something, I toil in my mind about writing about. Once you say you're in athletics, it seems as if maybe you lose 5 points on your IQ in somebody's mind. So that's been an interesting take on that, actually. As if that's the only thing that you're interested in. When I feel like most of my colleagues, we're academic minded. We just happen to like to play too. So, the athletics allow you that opportunity to get into another realm with these kids, in another relationship with them, and show them, we take this and we go here, and you're putting in all the kind of problem solving, relationship building, time management, how emotional intelligence. I think that's something that we all could really, learn from, is how to control or increase our emotional intelligence in tough situations.
I know I'm preaching to the choir here when I say, sports is our classroom. It's not extracurricular, it's co-curricular. We're teaching those lifelong lessons of dedication, commitment, sacrifice, integrity. I tell the chemistry teacher, they can forget that formula in your class, but they can't forget, how to work with other people in my class. So
that's right.
It's always fun. Well, good job with all the things you're doing there. Let's talk a little bit about your journey with your state association and the NIAAA. We have a lot of younger ADs listening, and I think it's important to talk about how you got involved both locally as well as nationally, taking the LTI courses and, of course, getting your CAA.
Sure. We have something very special, I feel, in Northern Kentucky, where we have the Northern Kentucky Athletic Conference, Athletic Directors Conference, and that is that ground level for just this area. And then within that area, people like Stan Steidel and Ron Madrick, who then encouraged us through, education that, you can belong to this association, the Kentucky High School Athletic Directors Association. I'm like, sure, the more I can gain more knowledge. That knowledge is power, and education, can set you free in any kind of journey that you're on. And so I think one of the things that's hard for a young athletic director, including myself, so I was an athletic director for, probably 5 years before I went to my first state conference. And I think, oh, what was I waiting on? But it's one of those things where, you think you're overwhelmed. Well, you're overwhelmed, but instead of thinking, well, this is going to help you with your overwhelmedness, you just freeze and you just stay in your own cocoon. But once you can blossom and you have those great people that are right there with you, then, I was able to get on the board of directors for, our association. And it's been just amazing. And the people are so supportive, and the stories that people can share are so funny. I can just sit in my office dealing with something, and then think about someone else's story. I'm like, oh, that's nothing, that's so funny. And because sometimes I feel that athletic directors can be on an island within their own school. And it's like, do you really know? You always get that, I know you're busy, but can you? It's like, well, if you know I'm busy, then what are you saying? So, your fellow ADs in your state, and then at the national level, you're just one tick higher, that you're all there. And, we have this wonderful new website with the NIAAA that I just love. It can be in the background while I'm working on something else, and just reading things at the same time, that all of a sudden it's an inspiration to keep you going. So it's very, very supportive, very, very welcoming and inclusive. So I love it.
I appreciate you sharing that. Talk a little bit about your coursework that you were taking led to your CAA, and the impact that that's had on your ability to do your job.
Absolutely. So, my first national convention just was mind-blowing. I invited my mom to go with me. It was in Tennessee, and it was, around Christmas time, of course, all the decorations. So she went shopping and had her good old time. And I signed up for every course I could take with the time slot allowed. And so that really kicked it in for me to be on my journey for a CAA, because again, you're like, everyone, okay, I got to take this, and that. But the conferences, my school is very supportive, my administration, and continuing education. So they paid for all my coursework. And so I would take anything and everything that I could take. So getting that information underneath my belt, and then the perceptions from the different people. Like, you're thinking one way about this, and then they're thinking another way. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And we are an urban inner city parochial school, which has its own take on the world, I guess, if you will. And so being able to take some of those courses where you learn from other people that teach in urban cities, it's just been an amazing experience. And I look forward to it every year. I wish we were in person. Virtual is going to be just fine, but I just, I love meeting new people and getting together. So.
Yeah, it's great to hear that it's had a positive impact. And I wouldn't be doing my job as a member of the certification committee if I didn't say, now that next step is get that CMAA project going.
Absolutely. And I'm gung ho. So I have a plan in mind, and it is about officiating. So before the COVID hit us, I was looking at doing a social with officials and parents and saying, if I'm an official, hi, my name is Anne Julian, and here's my daughter, my husband, and we're here with the kids, and try to put that personal spin on it. So maybe it wouldn't be as easy to yell things out at somebody, when you put that human aspect onto it. And I was just thinking the other day, the first uniformed person that a child experiences is a lot of times an official. So as a parent, a coach is maybe not being so kind with their words and their expression. What are we teaching kids when we're trying to show respect to a person in uniform? And so that, that really is been on my mind lately, is we have a social responsibility to be the role models and the example of how to treat those in charge of the rules, even if we don't like them or our perception is a certain way. And so with our, third graders, fourth graders, we really need to teach how we respond to those situations.
That's such a great idea. I'm excited to see that develop. And please, shoot me an email or call me up. I'd love to help you if you need help, putting that together. Also, I got to share one of my favorite memes I saw a couple years ago. The text goes like this. A parent sitting in the stands and goes to another parent, hey, what number is your kid? I want to yell at them. And the parent says, well, what do you mean? Why do you want to yell at my kid? And the first parent says, well, you've been yelling at mine all game. And the parent says, well, who's your kid? And the other parent says, the referee.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So that's great. Glad to hear you're working on that.
Yes.
Let's go and talk about COVID. We've been talking this over with our athletic directors. And again, we've seen a wide variety of responses to this crisis across the country. Some states, it's business as usual, let them play. Other states have canceled seasons. Other states have moved the seasons around. In Florida, we delayed for a month and then we kind of basically restarted. But there are still pockets of our state, particularly down the South, that are just now getting back to their first days on campus. And so we know that it's been different. And spoiler alert for our listeners, we're recording this on September 29th. So by the time it airs, hopefully things might have changed a little bit. But Anne, what's happening right now in Kentucky? What's happening at your school with regards to return to school as well as return to play?
Okay. The parochial schools in our state chose to go back to school in person, full bore. There's no AB going in. It's every student's in, all masked up, 6 feet or further from your peer sitting in a classroom, which has been challenging. The whole lunchroom is set up differently. They're facing forward. And then we followed the return to play athletically set forth by the Kentucky High School Athletic Association. And within that, we also had our local school board, our superintendent, and their task force come together for the parochial schools to say, well, this is how we're going to add on to what is the expectation from the state. And so we have limited two spectators per athlete, which is a challenge, especially when you're dealing with maybe divorced parents that might have a stepmom, a stepdad. I would also like to see Susie or Johnny play. So that's been a challenge, but our motto is, let them play. So we promise to do everything we can to get the kids back in, because it is about the kids. And then we have the live streaming as much as possible so that they can watch from home, with the hopes that we get it contained, or it dissipates, we hope, and goes away sooner versus later. But again, just getting these kids involved in school, number one, and athletics, number two, I think is on a mental health status very important.
What's been the response of the parents and kids? Have they been following procedures? Have there been some challenges with that?
There have been there's been challenges, because we tend to bring in a personal opinion about rules and regulations in most things. So just friendly reminder, and saying we live in a world of people wanting to do their own thing, and then we have those that are responsible trying to help us be active, and then you're not going to follow the rules. Well, they're going to have to shut us down. And I would completely respect that if we're not doing everything that the experts are saying that we need to do. So first having a conversation. It's the adults. I mean, the kids are really pretty good, but the adults, they want to make it for this platform or that platform, and just saying, on this campus, we are going to follow this because I want our kids to be able to play. And I know you do too. So let's follow that. And, they might grumble. You're right, Miss Julian. And, having that trust to begin with. They have to trust me for anything, any decision first, that I'm going to look out for the best interests of their child and for them as well. So that's been, it's just the little things, but the little things matter when you're touching stuff and putting it on your face. So, but it's been good,
Well, I mean, just getting people to see that they're part of the team, they're part of the solution, and hey, we all got to do the right thing.
Right.
Let's go and shift gears a little bit. I always ask the ADs, what's your favorite part of the job? And of course they say the kids, and it certainly is that. But aside from the kids, what are some of the things that you really like about working at Holy Cross High School? What gets you excited each day about coming to work?
Well, I would say at Holy Cross High School, I do have creative liberties on things, as long as, I follow, our Catholic beliefs and those kind of ideology that we follow here. But I can celebrate with kids monetarily, like, pizza party. Well, of course, with COVID, not so much. But my other coaches from different sports, they're really on board of celebrating other people's athletes, because they're all our athletes. But for instance, our baseball coach was able to deliver Chick-fil-A to the girls' soccer team that was finishing up their senior day soccer. I just love being a part of the team. Again, I love the kids, but I'm again, I can't get out there and play anymore. That was very hard at the beginning to get used to, but I still feel a part of the team. My role on the team is this, and I love a good assist. So, that was, I guess that's my favorite part, is like waking up and knowing we got a game today, we got a game today, and here's what I get to do.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing like game day. I love your expression. Nothing like a good assist. And, we are part of that team. So I don't think any other profession, has as many opportunities for success that we have every single day, whether it's game day or not. And it has really been a joy listening to you, but we're not done yet. Okay.
Okay.
We always like to wrap up with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you're an experienced AD, and I'm challenging you right now to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Anne Julian's athletic director toolbox?
Okay, it's going to be a calendar, a flip calendar that goes on a basket that has files in it. And so it's a monthly calendar. And then in that file is paperwork, things that need to be done for that month. That's handy, ready there. The toolbox, this is going to be something that's mostly a advice, not an item, I guess, per se. But what I learned in one of my workshops I went to is never handle a piece of paper more than twice. And for someone that's kind of like a hoarder when it comes to holding on things, that's probably the biggest. It's like, look at it, make a decision, and either throw it away or file it. So I think that is important. And the last thing I would put in there is probably a book that says, happy kids don't punch you in the face. And it has, I know, but it has some really good ways to deal with kids that might be, going through things in their lives. And then they bring it into the classroom, they bring it into your field classroom. And we as professionals need to be able to recognize that before we add to their misery. So it's a great book, but it's called Happy Kids Don't Punch You in the Face.
I'm writing that down as we speak here. Happy kids. Okay. And it goes right along with what, I think we tell our coaches that, practice, that should be the highlight of every kid's day,
Yes.
Geez, I got to go to practice. No, I get to go to practice. So, all right, that's good stuff. And thank you so much for visiting with us. Continued success at Holy Cross, and, be safe.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and get out there and join the NIAAA and have fun with everything that they have to offer.
I appreciate that shout out. To our listeners, thanks as always for tuning in. Come back again next time for another edition of the Educational AD. Thanks again for listening to the Educational AD podcast. The Zoom recording of this episode is available on the Educational AD YouTube channel. That's EducateAthDir, ATHDIR, and the FIAAA YouTube channel. Thanks again.